And all right, we're recording. How are you doing today, Pat?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I just got back from the what's it called? Meridian Celebration Fest or whatever.
Okay.
It's in Okemos, and took the kids and the wife, and we went. And, they had like bounce houses and all kinds of stuff and food. And actually, one of the ladies that was on the podcast before, her name's Erin Meadows. She's a local person.
Okay.
She has a catering business. Actually, I don't know if it's catering, but it's kind of catering. Like she meal preps and everything for people, but it's all like Whole Foods and everything.
Oh, wow.
I had this chicken wrap thing. It was so good. It was probably one of the best things I've ever had.
So does she have like a truck or something set up there?
No, she made it prior and then brought it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she just had like a table and small little setup, but yeah, it was amazing.
Sounds good.
Yeah, blew my mind. So, anyways, are you from Lansing? I know.
I live in Lansing now. I grew up in Mason.
Okay.
Most of my life in Mason, but I think I was born in Illinois, then lived in Kalamazoo for like 2 years while my dad finished up school, and then lived in Mason since then.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you like that?
It was okay. It's a nice. I think I was talking about with my mom recently. I was like, I think it was like a nice place to grow up, but it's kind of it's maybe not as like open-minded as I would prefer to live in now.
Is it because it's like a small town?
Yeah, I think that's probably. I think there's definitely like maybe it's more conservative than like a Lansing or something like that. I mean, I just like I was just talking about like when I graduated in 2000, the year 2000, and I remember there was like a lot of controversy because some kids wanted to start a gay-straight alliance, and like the town and the school were like, "Oh, we can't touch that. That's too hot button." And then like my sister graduated 5 years after me, and I think by then they had one. But then, like, when they wanted to put a float in, like, the homecoming parade, they're like, oh, well, we can't have that in the town.
Can't be too inclusive.
Yeah, so it's just like, yeah, okay, and then, like, I'm in, like, the Facebook group, the What's Going On in Mason group, and I just see, like, occasionally people will be like, oh, so we're celebrating Pride Month now, but we can't have the fill in the blank thing that I want.
Right.
It's like, well, it's not an either or thing. Like,
it's kind of a wild thing, right? Like, I mean, and we're seeing it even more and more, especially like after yesterday's thing with the abortion. But I grew up in Charlotte, so it's kind of the same concept. And I'm also in a group called What's Going On Around Charlotte.
Yep.
And I see some of the same things, and I know one of the things that they have to deal with is race.
Yeah,
and
Mason has the same. Yeah, but
which is weird because Mason's not that far from Lansing.
No,
but Charlotte, like, it's kind of secluded a little bit. But I remember when I was in school, there was like I think there was like 3 or 4 black people that went to school.
Yeah, it's probably about the same.
And it's probably about the same. But they still deal with a race problem. Like people calling them the N-words, and somebody was just telling me about a situation that just happened where a black kid was getting bullied on the playground in Charlotte, and their solution to the bully incident was to take the kid out of recess and have him stay inside.
Oh, jeez.
It's like, what? So we're punishing him for getting...
Segregation is your solution?
It's like, what? It's wild.
Yeah, maybe punish the people doing the bullying. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about that? It's crazy. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Crazy times we live in.
For sure.
Now, the listeners probably don't know, but you're a comedian.
Yeah.
So how is that with living in today's times? Is it like do you have like a arsenal of material because of everything going on?
I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm politically, I have my political beliefs. I don't necessarily try to work them into my jokes, not because I don't believe what I, don't practice what I preach or anything. It's just like, I don't know. It's hard for me. It's like if I'm going to say something, I want it to be funny too. I think there are some people who are better at like taking their belief and making a joke about it that people can laugh at even if they don't agree.
Right.
Right. So for me, I felt like during like the Trump administration, I'd maybe take like, shots at him, but not that, nothing too like,
right. I felt like a lot of people took shots at Trump.
Oh yeah.
It was like one of those things because it was so easy to make fun of him.
Mm-hmm. I mean, because I feel like, Clinton and Bush got it a lot too. And I don't know, it was harder to make fun of Obama, it seems like, but I mean, I'm sure that
he was too well put together. I think.
Yeah. Like his big scandal was he wore a tan suit or whatever.
And what?
Yeah.
Why is that a scandal?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
I feel like Biden's getting it now, so I don't know. Like I just try to I do the jokes kind of that I want to do, and I haven't worried about how to make like political stuff funny, but just with like the way things are going, like maybe I should try to work on that a little bit.
So I want to ask you about joke writing and all that stuff, but I kind of want to go back and get like your backstory on when you started comedy and what got you involved in it. Yeah. Because I mean, it's such a you probably started a while ago, right?
Yeah, I've been doing it for 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. But I guess I just liked stand-up comedy probably like middle school, is when that kind of started. I mean, I would see what was on like Comedy Central, or if there was ever something on like, TV that like, I don't think we didn't have HBO. So like wherever you would see comedy specials, I'd watch pretty much anything. Obviously like some things more than others, but I liked that a lot. I was really into like The Simpsons, and Comedy Central used to show like 4 hours of old SNL episodes, so I'd watch that stuff, and I think that just like really, I think so. I was probably in like 7th or 8th grade when we got cable and we were watching it. So I was like, 13, just like that's like my brain was just like, okay, if this is what's coming in, like it's gonna have its effect.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Red Bike Delivery. This delivery service operates only using battery-powered, eco-friendly transportation. Red Bike Delivery is there for all your delivery needs, whether it's dinner for the family, flowers for your partner, or new houseplants for your new collection. Red Bike Delivery will gladly deliver those and everything in between. So what are you waiting for? Check out Red Bike Delivery on Facebook or Instagram for more information. Red Bike Delivery, because there's only one Earth.
So like when I was in high school, I saw I went to a talent show. I didn't perform in it, but I like saw some of my friends in this talent show, and someone did they acted out like a Bill Cosby stand-up bit, like as a skit, and I was like, oh, I would like to do something like that. And then like they never had the talent show again when I was at school. So then when I went to college at Western Michigan, they had I'd go to the comedy night once a month. They had a once a month comedy night. I'd go every month. And then they were like, the last one of the semester is like a talent show. So I was like, oh, well, I should do that. So I called the number to sign up. And they were like, all right, well, can I hear your actor? And I was like, I don't have that yet.
Oh, my gosh.
So I spent like 2 months working on that, and then.
What was that like? Like, how did you form ideas, and how did you form the jokes? From nothing.
I went online, and I think this is like pre-Google, but I used like some search engine. It was just like
Firefox.
Stand-up comedy, how to start stand-up comedy. And I remember the site was like soyouwanna.com, and you could and it had you could say, hey, I want to learn how to do this, and it would give you like steps. And so I read about how to start stand-up comedy. I took notes on that. I was taking a public speaking class for one of my fine arts credits. So I kind of took some of the things I learned in that class and applied that. And then I saw they were referencing a book called Zen and the Art of Stand-Up Comedy. So I ordered that. I think Amazon existed, but I didn't have a credit card or anything. So I went to the bookstore in town. I'm like, hey, can you order this book for me?
Oh my
and
gosh.
They got it. And
kids today will never understand.
Yep. I read that book, and then got ready and did, I did that. So it was a talent show, and when I think back on it, I know it was students were running it or whatever, so they kept asking like, what's your act about? And I was like, I don't know. I'm still writing it, like this is just something I wanted to try. So I think they were like worried that, well, was I going to do something like, offensive or, I'm sure if I got off the stage 2 minutes in or something, because I didn't know how much time to tell them it was going to take or anything.
Right. You didn't practice beforehand?
Well, I practiced like in my dorm room, and like I had like a few people like, hey, can you watch this and tell me if you think it's good? And they'd give me like feedback. And so I think I ended up going like second to last, and there was like a band setting up, to go on after me. So I just like riffed about that for a second. Like I said, I got like a band, it's just like, I'm trying to think. Like I think I did maybe do some political jokes because it was like the spring of 2001. So like George Bush was like the guy that stole the election. So dumb stuff about that, and like just being like a freshman in college, and and then like I ended up winning that contest.
Wow.
So I was like, oh well, this is obviously something that I got to do now. So that, but then like, I came home for the summer, and I kept trying to get time at like Connections Comedy Club that used to be here. And they had like one night was open mic night, and they only booked like 3 people before like the regular show. So you had to call Monday at noon. They took the first 3 callers, and I feel like I'd call every time, and they was like, oh, sorry, we already got our 3. So like I didn't, get time, and then, I was trying to finish up school. I just kind of like gave up on doing it. And I remember my mom was like, are you going to give up on this? Like, you liked it. And I was like, well, I could come back to it later, but I didn't know if I would. And then, it was like, so this is like 2001, 2002. And I, graduated, did like, looking for a job, did a bunch of jobs and stuff. And then, 2010, I started like thinking, I need something that's not work to like, focus on. So,
right.
So that's when I decided to start up again, and I got on the open mic at the club that I couldn't get on before. And
Connections?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So that was February of 2012.
Wow. That's so cool.
Yep.
Wow. That's very interesting. So you essentially just learned on your own. You didn't have you didn't have videos, you didn't have YouTube to kind of reference you.
First time I didn't. I'd say in between like 2001, 2002 to when I started again. I was still a fan of comedy, but I wouldn't say I like knew a lot of like the deeper. I didn't my knowledge didn't maybe go that deep. Like I knew like the big people,
right?
On TV were. And like a friend of mine at work mentioned he was listening to a podcast called Doug Loves Movies, which is like Doug Benson, who's a comedian. He had like people on to talk about movies. So I started listening to that, and I liked it. And his guests were always comedians, so they'd be like, oh, I do this podcast. So I'd be like, oh, I'm going to listen to that one. So then I'm just like listening to a ton.
So you just swarmed yourself full of like just comedian stuff.
Yeah. And then a lot of times people would say, well, when I started, I, wrote my 5-minute set, and I, found an open mic, and I did it, and I kept doing them, and, kind of see how things changed and, what feedback I got. So I was like, oh, well, okay, I could do that. And, so yeah, that just kind of like tried to take advice that I picked up, or like little things I picked up from hearing other comedians talk about it.
I know the first time I ever heard, I don't know if it's the first time I ever heard a comedian, but the first time I remember like falling in love with comedy was I heard Dane Cook, and I grew up in church, so it was extremely strict, and we were on our way to Grand Rapids with the youth group, and it was like we were going to like a Griffins game or something. I think it was like an arena football game or something. But one of the guys that was in the group had his iPod, and he was playing Dane Cook, and it was I don't know if you heard all his stuff, but
I know I listened to like the first couple albums. So
okay. He has a joke about cheating, and he's like talking about how when he came home and he sticks the keys in, and it sounds like you're sticking it in a stereo, and then you're walking across the wooden floors, and it's like screeching and saying liar, cheater. And oh my gosh, I remember falling in love. That was the first, that was like the first time I remember hearing comedy and be like, wow, that's like, I love that. And, then from there, I paid attention to comedy. And even now to this day, like any comedy show I try to go to because I love them.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen my shirt. I wore it because of you. I got this at a comedy show. It's Chris Lane, I believe.
I'll have to check that out.
He's a comedian that we seen. My wife and I seen him at what's the one in Columbus, the Funny Bone.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And he was with Mark Norman.
Okay.
And he's a veteran, and so that's kind of why he did that. But it's Don't Tread on Comedy.
Yeah.
So, I think he made it at a time where like comedians were kind of getting attacked for saying certain things.
Yeah, some have, yeah.
Yeah. Have you experienced any of that?
Not really, because I'm usually not doing stuff that I guess people would be offended by. Like I've actually joked about that because I have like my uncle likes that I do comedy, but he'll like ask me like, "Oh, do you feel like you can talk about like whatever you want? Are people too sensitive?" And I just like I don't know. I feel like that's kind of like, maybe not the best argument to have, but I was like, well, I have like a bit about how my house has a room with lighthouse wallpaper. Like nobody's gonna cancel me for that. Like,
have you had any like hecklers or anything like that?
I mean, I think from time to time, I can't think of anything like majorly where I had to like keep fighting someone.
Right.
I guess I'm lucky in that sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you've performed at some, you performed at the Bob, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I seen that. Actually, I might have seen you there.
Okay.
Yeah, I might have seen you there.
I mean, I know I filled in for the because I have a house MC usually. I know I filled in a couple times if they were doing other shows or couldn't do, the weekend. Then I won a contest there in 2019, the Funniest Person Grand Rapids contest.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Have you performed at any other like bigger clubs or anything?
Pretty regularly at Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase.
Okay.
I feature there a couple weekends a year. So, I've been at like Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle in Royal Oak. Just last month, so like May of 2022 was I opened for Gary Goldman at the Michigan Theater. So that was like my first like big theater show.
What was that like?
That was awesome.
Were you nervous?
Yeah, because I worked with Gary at the Comedy Showcase 3 years before that. And he liked me enough that he was doing a show the next week at the Magic Bag and asked if I wanted to open for him there. So I did that. It's like that kind of like it's a little black box theater in Ferndale.
Okay.
It's like right between Ferndale and Royal Oaks. I think it's on the Ferndale side. But so I did that, and I thought it went fine, and but I didn't keep in touch with them or anything over like the pandemic and getting back into it. And then it was like the Friday of like Easter weekend. I was getting ready to go up north, and I checked my email. I had like email from someone I didn't recognize, but it was like open for Gary Goldman May 11th, and it was like, oh, okay. It's like, and it was like from his management company asked if I wanted to do it. So I wrote back like, yeah, I'll do that.
How does that work? Do you have to be like recommended to, or
I think he asked them to email me. I think he must have had my email address from like when he asked me to do the show at the Magic Bags. I know I had to like email someone like a text form or something for that.
Right.
So yeah, I'm sure it can be. Some people might have like agents or something that would be reaching out and saying, "Hey, would you let my client open for your client?" That kind of thing.
Right.
I think in my case, I think Gary is probably like messaging people for shows like if he's going to be in like Louisville, for example, he's like, "Oh, do I know anybody there?" Or ask for like recommendations or whatever.
Yeah, that's actually a good move.
Yeah,
get some local comedians contact information, and whenever you're in town, just
yep.
Yeah, that's really good. That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. So like I agreed to do it, but then I was like, well, I think the email was nice. He was like, well, Gary's audience prefers like a somewhat clean show. He's like, you can. Language isn't the biggest problem. Don't do any like graphic sexual material. And I was like, well, I don't usually do that anyway. But so I just like thought about like what jokes would I want to make sure I did on like a big stage like that, and what things, would I maybe, if I was questioning it, then probably just don't do it. That was kind of my
right.
Yeah.
Now, when you're writing jokes and when you're formulating like do you typically do like 10 minutes or 15 minutes or?
It can depend. Most open mics are like 7 minutes or so. Some of them are as low as like 3 or 5. I don't think there are any major ones that are only 3, but sometimes like.
So how do you formulate your jokes, like in that situation where you had to go pick jokes that you wanted? How do you transition between, like, are they around the same topic generally?
I try to organize things so that it kind of has like at least it makes sense in my head of how it's gonna flow together. Like, I have some things that I was just like, all right, well, I can just take a pause and go into the setup for this next thing. That's fine, but I guess I try to make it flow if I can.
Yeah. Now, who's your favorite comedian?
I have a lot of. I'm a big fan. I am a big fan of Gary Goldman, like I was before I worked with him.
Yeah.
So he's big. Like Jimmy Pardo. I really liked like Daniel Tosh back in the day.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't kept up with some of his more recent stuff, but I think like his first couple albums are pretty solid.
Yeah, he had an incident where he got canceled.
Oh yeah. I'm sure because he was doing the Tosh.0 show. I feel like sometimes that.
Well, it was actually in a comedy club. Somebody was I think he was talking about rape.
Oh
or
yeah.
Something.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was that was a while ago. I remember like there was like I'd heard that an open mic was like, because of this, everybody should tell a rape joke tonight. And I was like, if I was on that show, I'd be like, no, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, that's not a good idea.
I don't know. I mean, yeah.
The Tosh.0 show, though, that is a hilarious show.
Yeah, I think sometimes shows like that can like get old after a while or whatever, but I think he's funny, so yeah.
He's definitely funny. My favorite show, I guess kind of like that, but it's different, is Kill Tony.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool because you can kind of see some of the up and coming comedians, and I tried it because I always wanted to do stand up.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'll watch it and I'm like, okay, I see how they did that. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just scared of bombing like how they bomb.
I'm not like a regular viewer of it. I was at Motor City Comedy Festival one year when they had Kill Tony.
Oh, cool.
And so I was like hanging out in the back, and I did put my name in the bucket, but I was like, I don't even know what this is. Like, and then like I saw the people got picked, and it's like, so I mean, I'm sure the episode's available. It's like the one they did in Detroit, and they had Danny Brown.
Okay.
So he was like one of the guest judges, but like I don't know, he said a lot of stuff I couldn't really repeat. Crazy.
Was that when they went to Lansing, Grand Rapids, and then Detroit?
I think they did come through here, and then Grand Rapids, and then their show in Detroit with the festival.
Okay. Yeah. It's interesting to watch because for somebody who's never done comedy, like I don't know how to like formulate jokes. So
I guess my issue with it is just like it's hard enough to try it for the first time. Because I feel like people's first times, there's like, man, everything was hitting really good, and I thought I felt comfortable, and I was ready to do it, and then your second set will be terrible, or it'd be like, oh, it was so bad, I didn't want to do it again, but I made myself do it, and then maybe it gets better from there. But,
right.
Yeah.
Well, just like anything, and everything gets better when you continuously do it.
Yeah. I could see like. Some people maybe have like traumatic enough first time. They're just like, well, I know I'm not doing that again.
Right. Yeah. That's true.
But
that's true.
I just can't imagine like if I was trying it for the first time and it didn't go well, and then people made fun of me for it. I just like I don't know. I wouldn't sign myself up for that, but I know that there's people who.
Yeah, I guess you know what you're getting into if you sign up.
Yeah,
right?
and I feel like whoever's in that bucket, it could be somebody who does it regularly, like or it could be someone trying it for the first time. I just don't know if that public of a of a stage where you're going to get feedback that might be pretty mean if you were bad.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I mean, I don't think it would be enough for me to get discouraged to not do it again. But knowing that like they're big comedians, and then they're just bashing you, like, I don't know if I could do this. I don't know if I'm cut out for it. Yeah, that could be a thought.
Because I mean, it's like sometimes new like it's hard. It's hard to learn how to do this, and like I think probably I've had a lot of bad sets. I've had good ones. I feel like I'm at a point now where I do pretty good, but you'll still have bad nights. I would hate to have someone hold it against me for having a bad set. So
yeah, that guy sucked.
Yeah.
No. Whenever I see a comedian that's not that funny, I'm like, like they're still working on it.
Yeah.
You got to give them credit.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like sometimes like comedians will know like someone's been at it for a long time and they never get better, and they never like try things to get better. Like, right. Sometimes, someone starts out not strong, but they're working on it, and like, okay, they still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
But they're trying. They'll be fine. But sometimes it's just like, you've been doing this for like as long as me, and you're still struggling. I don't know. Like,
what do you think that is? Is it that they're not getting up enough?
I don't know. Yeah, that could be part of it.
Just maybe not cut out for it.
Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't. You can make the argument that maybe it's like a pretty tough art to try to master, so some people might not be cut out for it. But
what's crazy about it is how everybody does it differently, and so there's really no like way of knowing how to do it.
Yeah,
like, I mean, there's books out there. I know that there's the Comedy Bible. I have that.
I know I have that. I don't think I think I read through it, but I don't think I did that much with that one.
Yeah, I
really like the Zen and the Art of Stand-Up Comedy book, but
I'm gonna write that down.
That's from like the late 90s, so I think it's kind of I think it probably would have good information, but it's not like
What is it called? The Zen
and the Art of Stand-Up Comedy. It's like a play on, there's that old book, the Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Yeah. I think that book kind of just has like a brief mention of the internet, like that's how old it is.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I remember I grew up with like dial-up and all that.
Oh,
and it's so crazy like how everything just changed so much. I mean, like now I have a direct hookup. You don't have to hear the like,
Yep.
It's wild. Different times.
Yeah. Like tell children, someone had to scream at us and then we could get online.
Yeah, and you have to get off the internet. Yeah, and then when somebody calls,
hang up the phone.
Yeah, it's such a pain. It's so crazy how quickly innovation happens.
Yeah,
yeah, it's wild times. So as far as like finding like comedy gigs, do you have to search for those type of things yourself, or do you have like a manager that you?
Yeah, I'm doing most of it myself. I feel like some people get managers, but I guess not at the level I'm at, because I'm still doing it part time.
Okay. How often do you do it? On social media, it looks like you're doing it every weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I had a run of like 3 weekends in a row, so like I guess it's like an off weekend for me, and like I was just kind of like just hoping to get through with nobody asking me to do more, because sometimes you just need that for like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, even though it's something I'm sure you like to do, it's still work in a sense.
Yep.
Yeah, because you got to be there at a certain time. And
you got to, I like to try to think about what I'm going to talk about, and like I think last week I was, last weekend I had a Friday show in Detroit at the new Detroit House of Comedy that opens, like the official opening is this weekend, but they were doing like preview shows. So,
okay.
So I was doing like a 15-minute set there, but, I was like, I want to do well because it's like the new club, and, if I can get work there, and then the next night I was at doing a show in Kalamazoo doing like 45 minutes. So then it's like, all right, so I'm doing all that stuff I did last night plus more. And I got to, like I think like right before the pandemic, I had done 45 a couple times. So I was like, okay, it's something I can do. But then, 2 years where I didn't do it. So it's just like trying to remember how. And then, I've been doing it a while. So it's like, I don't want to do jokes that maybe don't ring as true, or I don't care as much about, just to fill time. So
So how often are you writing new jokes?
I could definitely do that more, but it's kind of like, it seems like ideas have to hit me, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, I want to talk about that.
Is it something you're constantly thinking about? Because that's like something for me. Whenever I'm doing something like the podcast, I'll see somebody or I'll talk to somebody interesting. I'm like, I'm going to have them on the podcast. Like I need to remember to reach out to them. Or like, that's an idea. I need to talk about that on the podcast. Or is there always things constantly running through my head? Is that something that's same for you?
That's kind of, because some people are really good at, I sit down every day and I write stuff, and like maybe I'll turn some of it into jokes. Like I know sometimes people say, like, if you just like journal, eventually you could write something that you could turn into a joke. Like, so if your goal is to just start writing something, but I was like, I've never made myself do that. I feel like when, I kind of like pretty quickly, as far as like Michigan comics, they were like, you're like they liked my writing. So it'd be like, I might not be as like prolific to have new stuff all the time, but when I do have something new, people like it. But then, so I don't know, there's so many ways to approach doing that. Sometimes I wish I could like come up with new stuff all the time, but probably doing enough to like keep, like if I'm at Arbor Comedy Showcase, where I'm there a lot, I try to do new stuff, work new stuff in. So it's like, if I have enough to do like a new chunk in my 20-minute set every time I'm there, like I'm happy with that. But, open mics, I don't want to just do the old stuff all the time. So, yeah.
Now you work full time too, don't you?
Yeah.
How is that, like having coworkers? Do they expect you to be funny?
I mean, I guess I'm an introvert in like life outside of comedy, so people are usually like surprised. I'm like, what? You're the guy that doesn't talk much? And I was like, well, I'm working. I think at my work, that kind of like, right from when I started, like, you can listen to music on headphones and to focus on your work. So it's like, that's where I would do a majority of my podcast listening.
Right.
Like,
where do you work at? Are you allowed to? You can't say.
I think I could say, but I don't. To be.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm like supply chain office kind of work. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I work at General Motors, and it's assembly line work.
Yep.
And so we can have headphones too, and that's when I listen to podcasts, like all day, every day.
Yeah.
And audiobooks. I listen to a lot of audiobooks too. But.
Yep. Yeah. I've have like my audiobook phase, and then like, I don't know, I just feel like there's so many podcasts now, and you'll like listen to one and they'll be like, this podcast on the same network, I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting, and then suddenly you're just like listening to those and maybe neglecting something else. And, there's always a ton just downloaded on my phone. Like,
I know. It takes up so much space too. You got to go through and delete them, unsubscribe.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating. Yeah. So do you have any upcoming events or anything like that? I just seen you were in Mason last weekend too, right?
Yeah, I was at the Rooted Reverence Festival. So they asked me to do that. I didn't know how that was gonna be, because it's like comedy in the daytime outside.
Yeah, that's interesting. How was that?
It was good. They told me that it had to be like somewhat family friendly too. So I was like, it's not that I'm not that dirty, but I don't want, like, I was like, okay, well, there's kids around, I guess I gotta like really be conscious of that.
Yeah.
But I just thought about it, and then like it turned out it went pretty well. It was like it's like I had like there weren't like tons of chairs set up. It was like one of their outside stages. They like set up the stage in the middle of the street on like Jefferson and Maple Street in Mason, and I used to live in one of those loft apartments above the antique mall. So I was like, I used to live like right there, like as I'm performing. Like, that's crazy. Some people I went to high school with showed up, so that was cool to see them. Cool. And so they brought two of their kids. So I was like, well, I cleaned it up, and like, I don't know. So I was like, all right, I guess I can do family friendly. People seem to like it. They were, people were just walking on the street afterwards. People were like, "Oh, you were great." Yeah.
That's so cool. That is really cool.
Yeah.
Now, are you part of the Opportunity Arts?
I've done stuff. Well, I mean, so I've done shows at Artist Umbrella.
Okay.
But I know Allison Spooner from when she was on your podcast.
Yeah.
I think the only episode I've listened to. Sorry, I did wanted to listen to a few before I did it, so I kind of know like what
to expect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met her. She used to work at Bestsellers in Mason, and I'd stop in every day before work to go get a chai tea and something. And so I knew her. So she had me do some of their shows. Did some of the live ones at the Loft before everything shut down.
Yeah.
Did some of the outdoor ones, and so I know a lot of the Opportunity Arts people from there. But I don't think I haven't joined or anything officially.
Okay. Have you? I know the Loft is like it's called the 414 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
they changed the name. Or
do they still do comedy there? Because I know for a little bit
they've done some occasional stuff.
Yeah.
I know that that's booked by like entertainment agency. So I don't know if they did more. Maybe I'd have a chance. But yeah.
Yeah, I went to one show there, and it was actually pretty good, but it was weird because like it didn't feel like a comedy club.
It's not the greatest venue for comedy.
No.
I saw Kyle Kinane there like 7 years ago.
Oh, cool. I think I've seen him at the Funny Bone before.
Yeah, he's great. That'd be another one of my favorites. So yeah, I don't know. It's not the best venue for comedy, but if they were doing shows there and offered me, I guess I would try.
Yeah. No, I mean the comedians that were there were funny. They were really good, but the environment was strange because they were like passing out like chips, like bags of chips and popcorn.
Yeah.
You could get liquor there, but it was weird because the bar's right there.
Mm-hmm.
But the tables that you were sitting at were like these big round plastic tables and like metal folding chairs. It's like this is I don't know, it's strange.
Kind of need I feel like comedy's really good in like intimate spaces, which I know that's maybe hard to do with with the virus, but low
definitely.
ceilings are good, but
that's what I liked about the Bob so much is like it's so intimate, but it felt kind of spacious at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
They'd fit a lot of people in there.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
They're reopening in the fall.
I seen that.
Yeah.
Are they opening the comedy club too?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. I'm so excited because I was sad when that closed down.
Yeah.
I've seen Brad Williams there. Right before they shut down, I went and seen Greg Fitzsimmons.
Okay, yep.
I've seen Chris Porter there.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, I love that club.
Yeah, well, I'll be back.
Yeah, I can't
September.
wait. I cannot wait. Yeah. Is there any other clubs kind of like that in Michigan?
I mean, I feel like every club in Michigan, they're kind of like unique in their own ways. I really like Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase. I would say check that out because I mean, if you're driving an hour to Grand Rapids, just drive an hour the different way to get to Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
They've got a really nice club.
Is it like a theater type setting?
No, I mean it's like I think it's like I guess kind of has like an internal bowl and then like kind of a couple more levels it goes back. It's
okay, so it's pretty big.
I think you fit a couple hundred there if they were at capacity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I've always wanted to check them out. I just haven't.
It's good. Yeah, I think like when we lost connections here, and then they tried to do a comedy club at Trippers, and that lasted like a year and a couple months.
Why didn't that one work out? Do you know?
Well, I know Trippers closed too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of places, a lot of times places will be like, we're struggling. Comedy will save us, but it's like comedy. It's tough. It's not an easy business. Like I think a lot of these clubs that have been around for decades, they figured out how to adjust with the times.
Right.
Because it's like in the 80s, there was like the comedy boom where everybody like there were comedy clubs and every restaurant did comedy and there were tons of comedians, and then things kind of cooled off in the 90s. It was like the mid 90s. It was like that was like the last thing people wanted to do. It was tough, and some places adjusted and some places didn't, and they closed. And I know like Trippers. I don't want to like talk bad about them after they're gone, but I don't think people knew it was there. Like
I didn't know it was there.
Like Connections' problem was they were on like the north side of Lansing, and there's not a lot out there.
Yeah.
It used to be,
and you got to drive.
Yeah, and it used to be like before 127 got built, everybody had to take that to go north, so you'd pass by, and it was like prime location. But once a highway cuts you off,
that's a good point.
Nobody's driving out that way, so you're not seeing like,
right,
hey, a comedy club, let's go.
Right.
And then I think it just tough business, and I've heard that the owner maybe made a deal for some tax relief, and it kind of ended up like, hey, I'm just shutting it down. I don't want to say that's for sure what happened.
Right.
Just a lot of factors, and then I think what Trippers was in a decent location, in Frandor that had some traffic, and it's close to East Lansing, close to downtown. People could get there, but I think I would work weekends there hosting. People would just be like, well, I heard about it on the radio, and I didn't even know you guys were here, and so I got free tickets, and I came, and then, like, but did they ever come back? Did they tell anybody?
Right.
I just, like, there was, like, like, people knew what Trippers was. They didn't know that they had, like, built a comedy club inside.
Yeah, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, and they had, like, a side room that they just made into, a decent space for comedy, and then, but... like, they could have if they put a sign up, people would like, hey, comedy on the weekends or whatever. Like,
have you been to that one comedy club? I think they shut down now, but on the west side.
I did not go there.
No, I went there once with my wife, and it was like dead winter, and their heat had just gone out. God. And so they had like space heaters in there. And then the comedians were actually funny, but there wasn't that many people in there. And it was an interesting setting because it's a theater, obviously. So it's like theater seats and everything.
And that can work.
It could work, but it has the high ceiling. So it's like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's strange. It's a little strange, but there was only like a handful of people in there. So like, it didn't feel like comedy, I don't know. It was interesting.
There was like there's some drama with people that were running that, and I don't feel like I was involved in it, but like I kind of see like some of comedians in Lansing I know would like ask about doing time there, and the responses were always like super rude, and
oh man,
I always was kind of like, I when I saw like what was going on, I was like, well, I don't think I'm going to check that out. But I would tell anybody else, like, if you can get stage time, do it. And I never badmouthed them. I didn't want it to like fail.
Right.
But yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna wait and see on that one.
See how it works out. Clearly, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
Which is sad. I really want.
We need something.
We need something.
Yeah.
Why don't we have anything? Like, this is the capital city.
I don't know.
Like, we need something, like, at least in, like, MSU area.
Yeah.
Like, if there was a club down there, I believe it would do great.
I think it would, too. Yeah.
Especially with, like, open mic nights with college kids, like
I think the area where Trippers was trying to do it that's like a good area for it because it's pretty close to campus.
Yeah, and you can drive there, park.
Yep.
And you could leave your car there if you needed overnight if you get too drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And that was another thing too about the comedy club on the west side is you couldn't drink. They didn't have an alcohol license.
Yeah.
So like you're just I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's I mean, I don't drink that much. I'm not like never drink or whatever, but I don't drink that much. But I know that for some people, like going out to the comedy club, they want a couple of beers or a cocktail or two, and
especially because like generally when you go to a comedy club, you have to buy a drink or two,
like 2 drink minimums or whatever, which I don't agree with. But
why not?
I don't know. Like you're getting people in there. If they're paying for their tickets, I think that's like money you can count on for. Don't be like, and well, once you're in here, you got to spend at least $10 more or whatever it is, and
yeah. I guess I get it though. Like for me, I guess I appreciate it enough to where like I'm like I would pay whatever to watch comedy, but I get why somebody would be like I don't really want to.
Yeah. And someone who doesn't drink, I don't know. I mean, I guess. I play some places be like, all right, well, we'll just charge you for 2 bottled waters or whatever. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do? They obviously have to make money too, but
they do.
Yeah, it's kind of like a movie theater, I think, right? Like most of the ticket sales go to the comedian, and then
yeah, I don't know how all that works, but yeah,
I
it's
don't
probably
either.
different from place to place. A lot of times, what comedy clubs will do to get people in there, if it's light, hey, we aren't selling a lot of tickets this weekend, they'll just be like, they'll do contests in quotation marks, where like they'll post on like the social media, but like, we have a trivia question. If you answer it, you can get some tickets, and it'll be something super easy. So they just be like I think we joke like, "What day is it? Tell us what day it is to get 2 free tickets." But yeah, so I mean, I guess if they're not paying to get in, then the club's like, "Well, we got to get something."
Yeah.
And, I don't know, but maybe I wouldn't, like, if I ran a club, I don't know if I'd do drink minimums, but I'd try to like charge, maybe have a low ticket fee, so we're not like papering the room, which is like the term for giving people free tickets.
Okay.
Like we're not doing that, but the ticket price is only $10, so most people aren't gonna be upset about that.
You're not gonna go broke trying to find. Yeah.
And then I'm not gonna make them order 2 drinks, but maybe if we have like a good, reasonably priced drink menu and food menu, they'll buy stuff on their own. And
yeah. I mean, that would be ideal.
Yeah.
Now, you also do comedy at a place in East Lansing, don't you?
Yeah, I started helping out with a new comedy like open mic at Beggars Banquet.
Okay.
On Thursdays. Yeah.
How is that? What is that environment like? It's a restaurant, right?
Yeah, Beggars Banquet's like it's a restaurant that's been there since like the 70s. So it's like I think it's like has some like fine dining options, like they have like steaks and seafood, that stuff that can be a little more high end, but then they also have like burgers and stuff. So
okay,
it's like, and everything I've eaten there is good. They have like a big like banquet room attached to it that they will rent out for like events. But I think it was just like open some nights, so they wanted to try to do comedy there. Elena Banfield, who runs the show with me, works at Beggars Banquet. So they talked to her. She wanted to do it, and I just said I'd help out.
So do they do like open mic type things there, or they just book comedians already?
I don't know. Well, I mean, Elaine and I are doing like the booking for the comedy portion. I think it's like this kind of like banquet room that can hold like 10 tables, has a bar, so it's like, hey, people might be having want to have like a graduation dinner or something. Use that space.
Okay.
So, if it's sitting open most nights, they just wanted to kind of try to do something to see if they get some people coming in. And
right.
Yeah.
And that's a good spot too. I mean, it's in East Lansing. Is it busier during when like the college kids are there?
It was definitely, I feel like the first week, like after school was over, we had like a kind of dip in attendance, but we've had some weeks since then have been pretty good.
Yeah.
Like I know they're trying to promote the show more. They have like little flyers they're putting out, and
cool.
People are like, because it's like East Lansing right now has like that fresco zone. I don't know if you've seen that.
No.
They blocked off part of
Oh yeah, behind.
Yeah, like behind like the Jolly Pumpkin and all that. Like that street is blocked off for like a couple blocks, so like people can eat outside, and there's like stuff for kids to play and stuff. So I know Elena and some of her coworkers have been like writing on the chalk on the sidewalk around there, like comedy show at Beggars Banquet Thursday night.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Yeah, I've always wanted to open a comedy club here in town.
Oh yeah.
But it's just like one of those things. I'm not in that community. Like I don't really know what like the talent of comedians are like here in Lansing. I do know that there's quite a few.
Yeah, there's a lot of us. There's some good people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you pretty good friends with most of them?
Most of them, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Are they pretty good? Are they pretty good?
Yeah, there's really good people.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robert Jenkins, Nick Lydorf.
I follow some of them.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I don't want to list too many and have you like, you didn't list me.
Right.
Yeah.
You forgot about me, you asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, there's really good people here. I think like comedy clubs, if one did open up here, like most of the time, like your headliner is going to be someone that's traveling, and they might bring like a feature act with them, or whoever books it is probably, so most of your show is probably not going to be that local. You might get like someone in town or in the state for hosting. But then like, if a club opened up, I'd like understand, hey, you're probably not having like local people be your headliner or your feature most of the time, but maybe you could have an open mic night for us, so we could, grow. And then you'd see us and be like, oh, so-and-so, they're getting better now. Maybe I should give them some work hosting or,
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you're pretty regular at most clubs, right?
I mean, I try to be. I don't
know. What club would you say you perform the most at? Would it be Ann Arbor?
As far as comedy clubs, yeah.
Okay.
That would be, yep.
And I know I asked you earlier, but we didn't. I don't know if I think we went on a different subject.
Went on
but
some tangents.
do you have any upcoming shows or anything like that?
I would say I wanted to plug the Thursday show at Beggars Banquet. It's most Thursdays. So I don't know when this is going to air.
This week.
Okay. We have to take a couple weeks in July off. The restaurant has events. So there's going to be shows on the 30th, the 7th, and the 14th. But then there'll be like the rest of July will be off. So I'm actually going to be out of town for all those shows, so Lane's gonna be running them. But I'll be back in August when they start up again at Beggars. But yeah, that's a pretty good show. I want to make sure to promote that. And then I'm helping run 2 shows at Bad Brewing in Mason, August 17th and September 28th.
Okay.
I think they've usually had us outdoors in their like outdoor seating area, and it's usually been a good time. So
cool. Yeah. That is really cool. Now, do you go to many other comedy shows that you're not performing in?
I try to. I don't know. I think I do a lot of performing, so sometimes like going out and seeing comedy is maybe not like the top of my list of things to do for entertainment, but if it's like someone I know, like a friend of mine it has a big show, I'll try to go to that. If it's a comedian I like a lot, I want to see what they're doing, do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes like seeing somebody they'll inspire you to like, oh, they did this and maybe I can try to do something. Yeah.
Or might flare an idea like, oh, I can run off of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you got to be careful with doing that.
Right. No, but you might have a different idea, right?
Yeah.
That's associated to that subject.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes just I think it's good if you want to do comedy or probably anything, like just try to be aware of like what's going on with that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be difficult knowing like if somebody else made that joke before.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's something you can find out. Sometimes that's just like parallel thinking. Where like if someone in another state I've never been to has a joke that's similar to mine, it's like, well, I've never seen them.
Yeah,
so
yeah, and I guess it really doesn't matter too much, right? Until
it's kind of like once you do it on TV, it's kind of like yours. Matters. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, because you could be like, well, that is my joke. It was like, yeah, but they did it on TV, and nobody's gonna believe you that you.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, aside from comedy, do you have any other hobbies or pastime?
I mean, I try to. I'm still a big comic book fan.
Okay.
So, I've been doing that for a long time. But I think I've just been so busy with other stuff. It's like I go buy my comics and then it'll be like 5 days later, like, oh, I should probably read the ones I just bought. I think I'm probably gonna do that after this.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to find time to enjoy things or to do things that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you're working full time and you have a hobby that takes a lot of time too.
Yes. Yeah.
Because for instance, this podcast takes me a lot of time outside of my full-time job.
Yeah.
And it's like you still have to find time to enjoy other things.
Yeah.
No,
I think your calendar thing was a pretty good. I think that at least like frees you up from like getting bogged down with people. Hey, can we change my time to this or
it does? Yeah. I did that because at the beginning, up until recently, I would schedule all the podcasts myself. Like I would try to work it with the guests. Like, okay, I'm available this time. They're like, oh, that doesn't work for me. I got to do this time.
Yep.
and it was kind of a pain. Like most people want to do afternoons, which I get, you know. Nobody wants to do late at night or evenings.
Yep.
But that's the only time that works for me, like during the week, and then on the weekends, like I might have something going on. So, so I had to do something.
Yeah, when I was doing it, if we wanted to get people in the room to record, it'd be like, well, I'm gonna have to do it on a weekend, so we'll see if you can do it in the morning or early afternoon, or
So, do you think you'll do another podcast?
I've had ideas for them. I just don't know like what one to run off of.
What are like you want to do like a comedy podcast?
Yeah. It would definitely be more on the comedic side. Like I listen to non-comedy podcasts too, but I haven't had like I'm probably not gonna do like a true crime or something.
Yeah, those are kind of serious, right? Like you would have to, and that takes a lot of research.
Well, listen to good ones.
There's some good ones.
It's just like, listen to this. It's fucked up. And then like, weeks later, so like, yeah, I finally listened to that. I'm like, oh, I don't even remember all the details of that one. Like,
it's impossible, especially like when there's seasons and it's like one subject or one crime or something like I can't remember. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like I was listening to The Dropout with Elizabeth Holmes a while ago, and I had to check out because like it takes like a week to release an episode, and then you forget all the details, and it's like I don't even remember what happened.
Yeah, and then like some things you're like listening to it and you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna Google what happened to that person, and then you're like Wikipedia, like, all right, so I know that they died, and then you're like, all right, so I guess I'll still listen to see like how they're events? Gonna tell me how they got to that point.
Right. Yeah, I stopped listening to the crime podcast because I realized how fucked up this world is.
Yeah.
Like, man, this stuff is still happening. And it's happening, like, what's crazy, it happens, like, in the Midwest. Yeah. Like, Ohio, Indiana, and, like, actually, I think it was those two states, like, it happens the most in, it seems.
I believe it, yeah.
It's crazy. It's all cornfields. People can just bury you easily.
That's true.
All right, man. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about on the podcast?
I guess I can't think of anything unless you have more questions. Or
no, I feel like I asked you a lot about comedy, not like enough about yourself.
Oh,
but
I mean, I don't know. I guess.
But I love comedy, and I love like hearing. I mean, I've never actually interviewed a comedian before, so like it's interesting to hear like how you do things and how you see things.
And it would probably be way different, if you got someone else in here.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think. So I'm assuming you've probably seen me at like Artist Umbrella related things, or I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I came across you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really not. Like I said, I might have seen you at the Bob before.
That could be.
And I think I've seen you on social media somewhere, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna follow him because he's a local comedian.
Yeah.
And so. Yeah, I started following you, and I'm like, I'm going to reach out to him.
Yeah, hey, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. I try to uplift local people and help them out and talk to them. And
you've had some good like friends of mine on, and that's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's fun. It's a lot of fun too. So
yeah, I'm planning on. I'll listen to a few more. I'm always looking to know who's doing big things in Lansing. So
yeah. Well, I'm not doing big things, but.
Having people on who are doing stuff in the arts or local services, and I think that's
that's one thing. Like before I started doing this podcast, I didn't realize that there were so many like artistic things in Lansing. Like it's crazy because there's so many people doing so many different things, and there's so many events and
I think like so I grew up in Mason. And I think as we were talking up front, there's not a ton of that, not that often. Like I mean, even like the what's going on in Mason group. I remember after Rooted Reverence where I did like a set, and I was so happy. Like, hey, I did something in my hometown, and it was great. I just like the next day, I'd be like, how come I didn't know anything about that? Why did it's just like. They were trying to get the word out, like
right.
They were on the news. I think they posted in this group, like what more do they need to do? But so I lived in Lansing for like 2 years in like 2010 through 2012, and then I moved back to Mason to be closer to work and whatever, and then but I did move to the city of Lansing in 2019. I bought a house east side, and I was super pumped. I was like, this neighborhood like has a lot of good like creative people.
Yeah.
Like and so yeah, just kind of like seeing the talent that does exist here. That's been cool, and like
it is really cool, and everybody's supportive of everybody, which is really cool because like you don't have that like, oh, I need to be better than that person.
Yeah.
Mentality. Like, yeah, that's a loser's mentality. But.
Yeah, no, I think like the local comedy scene, I think we for the most part try to build each other up rather than like compete.
Yeah.
And sometimes you might see like someone getting good opportunities that you want yourself, but I've always just been like, well, I'm going to be happy for them that they got to do that. Not like,
and they might pull you in at some point.
Yeah. I think like for the longest time, I was like the only comedian Artist Umbrella had. So then I'd be like the only comedian with everybody else. I have seen some of my friends doing shows for them now. So I'm like, hey, that's good. I'm glad that I was able to, set the tone that comedy can work at these events, and now other people get a chance to do that too.
That is very cool. That is cool. Well, thank you for doing this. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me.
It was informative, as for me anyways, because I'm like, maybe one day I will do comedy. Who knows?
Yeah, hopefully people, if anybody's sitting and listening to this, like, do I try comedy? I mean, just give it a try it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything.
No.
Those people aren't going to remember you like a couple days from then.
No,
if you suck.
Not. I mean, even if you do really well, people might not know who you not remember you. So,
right.
Yeah.
That is very true. That's a really good point.
Yeah. I guess I just, I'm sure you can plug social media stuff and the link of the episode, all that.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
All your links will be in the show notes. So.
All right. Yeah. Well, thanks again for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for doing this.